All right, we are live. What's going on, guys? Good to see you again. Welcome to Own the Chaos, where we talk about everything over-the-counter stocks, except for Wednesday nights. We do a little bit, change it up a little, and talk about whatever it is that I want to really talk about. So I brought Cameron on, and we're going to talk about some stuff with Tesla. I know a lot of people are really excited about Tesla just as a company. People love their product, and the stock in general, where we think it might be headed. Cameron here from Young Money Investments. He is a mentor within our WeTrade HQ group. And if you don't know what WeTrade HQ is, if you're visiting for the first time, I encourage you to check out our free community. It's at WeTradeHQ.com. We also have almost 4,000 members within our Discord community worldwide. The links are all down in the description below. And I forgot to do this, Cameron, but I'll put your YouTube channel in my description as well if you guys want to check him out. He is at Young Money Investments. He's all over social media, but you can find him most of the time on Instagram. He's always hanging out on there. So what's going on, Cameron?
Not much. Just out here in Arkansas right now. I work for ADT. I know if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that for sure. It's one of my other jobs. And so we're doing a little preseason blitz out here and selling in the freezing rain and all this nasty weather that we got going on.
Yeah, so just to kind of give him a little backstory, there's probably a lot of new people watching. So Cameron does like a lot of long-term trading, does a lot of shorting. He's very good at shorting, but like he still keeps his day job. He really loves what he does. Within his day job, which is in sales. He's really good at that. And you sell ADT systems for a living.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've loved it. That's kind of how I got started into the stock market for those that don't know the story. So obviously I've been in the stock market probably about a decade, since I was like 16 years old, and didn't have a whole lot of capital, didn't have the money to really, obviously see the gains that everyone wants to see when they start trading and investing. And this job opened up that avenue for me, and just kind of continued to take that money that I've made in this day job, so to speak, and turn it into more money in the stock market. So I love it. That's kind of the name of the game, is multiple streams of income, right? It's what we're all aiming for.
Absolutely. Creating that money so that you're literally making money while you sleep. I mean, that's like the bread and butter of being an entrepreneur. That's kind of why I've created WeTrade HQ, and I do this with you guys all the time. There's no better feeling than knowing that you're going to go to bed and you're going to wake up making money, or having already made money. So that's probably one of the cooler parts about what it is that we do.
Well, and everyone can do it. I mean, I think that's the thing. I think people look at maybe you, or they look at myself, and they think like, okay, well, they've been doing it for a long time, I can't do it. Like, literally, like, the reason I think I still do ADT, in fact, I posted on my story today while I was out there selling, and I probably got 5 or 6 people that were all like, why are you still selling if you make so much money trading? And it's because I love it. I love watching guys, learn. I love training and teaching. But at the end of the day, I think I do it partly because I love to show people like, this is all possible. And like, I'm still here to be a mentor. I'm still here to help, these guys out so that they can just do this, like, right, literally follow in my footsteps and, be an entrepreneur if that's what they so desire, so I love it.
Do you think that you'll end up, quote unquote, retiring early and just doing this full time one day?
Do trading and everything?
Trading, yeah, and just kind of like, kind of living the life, or living the American dream, as they say.
I mean, I feel like I'm living the American dream literally right now. Like, I mean, the cool thing at this job, each job goes hand in hand together, but at the same time, like, this is almost like, you can do it with a wife. You can bring a wife and a girlfriend out and go to the place that you're going to. But it's kind of fun because it's like college, like forever. It's like a life, like you're working with all your good friends. These are guys that you will be friends with for decades, like all the way till you're old.
Right.
And so I love that I get this interaction with these guys. It's like a fraternity, but at the same time, I still get my trades. I still get, if I don't want to be social, I can make money online, But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get out of the selling game, just because of the fact that I love training, and this is kind of my teaching outlet. Maybe I won't. I definitely don't plan on knocking doors forever. I tell myself I got 1 to 2 more years of full-time knocking. This year being 1, potentially next year. and then, you know, just being a regional manager and managing teams. But like I said, it's so much fun because a lot of these guys also want to learn how to trade. I mean, this is, like
Right.
I said, their breakthrough for trading.
And well, they're able to make really good money while they're in sales, so that they can actually create a nice little nest egg to start trading with, which is cool. So
Absolutely.
um, already got some questions rolling in about Tesla. Let's go ahead and get started with that.
Yeah, sure.
And guys, feel free to keep the questions coming. If you have questions just about Cameron in general, his channel, what he does, the services he offers within WeTrade HQ, feel free to ask them over there. I do have the comments rolling here, so feel free to chat it up. So I actually have one question here. Smith Black says, I heard from a friend that Tesla stock has to reach 350. I guess the price per share has to reach 350 by the end of the month, or they have to pay $900 million. If they fail to pay, then it could be great for shorting. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the exact numbers are, I believe it's like 350. I have it written down. It's 359.87 is what it needs to reach. They have $920 million in bonds, that municipal bonds that they, well, it's not municipal, but they're bonds that Tesla
Yeah,
has.
it's not municipal.
Yeah, I know, such an idiot. Tesla has to pay out. Now, I mean, yes, it's a potential, you know, yes, downside for them, but the reason I wouldn't recommend shorting it, and I'm not going to be short even if they don't hit that, is because the amount of cash and cash equivalents they have. I think they have 1.45 billion in cash right now and 3.69 billion in cash and cash equivalents. So I'm not really worried. If you followed Tesla for the past few years, you've seen that it trades very consistently between $350 and $250. We're kind of at that middle point right now. So it literally, you could almost flip a coin and it could go either way. But that's why, like I said, again, I'm happy buying it at 300. I would love to buy more, you know, 275, 250 is just like load the boat with Tesla shares,
Right.
for me at least. But yeah, I don't see shorting it because that doesn't affect their fundamentals. Like I'm big into the fundamentals on Tesla, and they have the cash to pay for it. It's not going to hurt them. I mean, Elon already purchased another company. It was a semiconductor company for 200 million. It was that last week or the week before?
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know.
It was a big acquisition that they had, and so I know that they're not hurting financially, and so it just doesn't seem like a short.
Yeah, well, I mean, $900 million, that would suck.
No, I mean, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, the reality is it doesn't hurt production. I don't think it's going to put them in a dire strait. That's for sure.
But wouldn't you say that perhaps you could do a short-term short on something like that, just to kind of capitalize on what probably would be a lot of emotional reaction to that if it didn't get to that 359?
You could. I mean,
let's just put this in perspective, okay? Elon Musk shows up on Joe Rogan, smokes a little bit of weed, and then everybody goes crazy and starts selling it off, which lended opportunities to A, short it, or buy in on that dip. Which
buy the dip.
Yeah, which probably you're leaning more towards buying on the dip. But like if you're a short, like if you just short stuff, maybe just on a daily basis, or if you do like a 2-day. I don't know if they call it swing short, but like just I'm not really good at shorting terminology, but
you're good.
On like a 2-day short or whatever, couldn't you make the argument that perhaps that might happen just because of the emotional reaction to something like that happening?
You could. I mean, you definitely could. My problem with it is every time this crazy news comes out about Tesla, the less and less volatile it's become. So there was the 420 tweet, right? There was Elon's going to get kicked out of, Elon's not going to be the CEO of Tesla. There's just been a million different things. They're not going to hit their numbers. And every time, it sends their stock just careening down. But I feel like that shock value isn't there in Tesla as much anymore. And so that's what makes me hesitant. It doesn't mean that, hey, if you're willing to, be a little bit more risky, you couldn't make some money on it. But for me personally, it's just, it's like with the market with Donald Trump, right? Trump tweets all these crazy ass things that you're just like, what is he saying? But people don't care. The markets don't care anymore.
Right.
The markets keep going up. So that's kind of what I see. Elon is like one of those rare comparisons. Elon and Donald Trump are like very similar in that sense with their Twitter accounts.
So it's like they've almost investors have almost kind of grown numb to any kind of outlandish things that come out of Elon.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm not saying, like I said, that it might not be a good short. Again, you know, it will just depend, but it just is a scarier short for me. It's not as tried and true where I can go, oh yeah, that's an easy short. It's a no-brainer. It's just a little more complex, I think, for me.
Gotcha. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I got a short question. Somebody asked, what do you look for when looking to short?
I mean, you can go short for a lot. There's a lot of different ways. My main thing that I look for is morning gappers. If I'm going to short, I want a massive profit margin, and I'm looking to just scalp, you know, maybe 20 to 40% of a potential profit in that. Usually, a company will have gapped up 100%, 200%, 600% overnight or over a 2-day span. And it is the RSI is at a 90, which to me, if you can get something at an RSI at a 90, you're going to have a pullback, and then, you know, you're sitting pretty on a fat return. So my strategy with shorting has always been find those morning gappers that have just ran way too much. And again, you know, you can look at, I think good examples are like DRYS is a good one, Dries.
Well, today, I don't know if you can even short it, but I saw today ABIO went nuts, and then it came right back down. Like, it was up over 100%, and then came right back down. And it only ended the day, I think it was up like 40% or maybe even 30% by the end of the day. So,
I mean, isn't that crazy? Like,
no, not really. I mean, it happens in the OTC all the time. But yeah, for NASDAQ, for you guys that aren't used to seeing those kind of crazy swings, but yeah, that is crazy for something like that.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, and I mean, it depends on the broker. That's another thing we could always talk about. Like brokers, it is very hard to sometimes find those hard to borrow, hard to short companies. But you get the right broker, you know, you can get in on some of those. So,
gotcha. So let's just talk about Tesla a little bit more. So,
yeah,
for long term, you've mentioned to me a couple of times, and even before we went on air here, that like you're always bullish on Tesla, and you even own a Tesla. So, yeah. Talk to me a little bit more about that. Like, what is it that why do you see so much value in Tesla? And I could probably answer some of that myself, but just for people who are watching, like, what is it that you think for long term potential? Like, how far could this really go?
How would I turn it back on you? You give me some of your main points for it, and I'll fill in, like, from an owner standpoint, like, my points that, because I think, like, I was bullish on Tesla before I owned the Tesla.
Yeah.
And then it's like anything. You buy the product, you use the product, you feel the product on a daily basis, your mindset's completely different. So I'd love to know your standpoint or your outlook on it, and then I can kind of contribute my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, so like I'm a huge car guy. People who don't really know me, I'm a huge car guy.
V8 car guy. You like the old school V8.
Yeah, so like when you know when Tesla started coming about and the electric car started coming about, I wasn't like really turned off by it, but I was like, man, you're killing me with this stuff, because it was like, you know, I had an 81 Firebird that you know, I built, you know, pretty much from the ground up, and did a lot of work to it. And you know, so when I say I'm a car guy, I'm like actually a car guy. I'll get elbows deep into under the hood, something like that. I'm not just out to just buy something pretty and drive it around, you know. I actually get in and work on the stuff. And so that's my definition of a car guy. If you like cars and like to drive them around, I think that's just more of like an enthusiast. But if you're going to call yourself a car guy, it means that you actually are getting in there, getting your hands dirty, and just working on the car and getting it to a point to where like you actually just I don't know, love it. And so for me, when I first saw Tesla, I was kind of like, you know, yeah, whatever. We've been down the EV road before, electric vehicle road before, and it never worked out. They could never make them sustainable enough. You know, yeah, they're great as far as like from a performance standpoint, but it was never like a longevity thing, like as far as sustainability goes. And when I first drove a Model X down in Texas, when I you know, volunteered at the food bank down there after Harvey, I test drove a Model X, and I was blown away. Not just from a performance standpoint. I mean, I'm in a 6,000 pound vehicle and I'm going 0 to 60 in almost 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Because it was the P100D. So like that blew me away. But like all the other stuff that came with it, the safety, even all the way down to the engineering when it came to just like the full windshield, and it was like they did this because for us tall people, so I have a Jeep Wrangler right now, I have Rubicon, and so I have to do one of these things when I'm looking at the traffic light. Whereas now, with the Model X, you don't have to do that. It's just all glass, but it's still just as safe. I think I saw something recently that they had a perfect crash test rating on the Model X, and
Like the only SUV ever to get a 5-star crash test.
yeah, and it's like when for me now it's like, and I've started taking them seriously pretty much since then, since I actually drove the product, kind of like what you were alluding to. But they've got so much other stuff. Like the technology is so much further advanced than any of the other combustion engine, car manufacturers out there. It's like they're trying to play catch up, and I just don't know how it's going to happen. I mean, and now they're going into like semi trucks, and that as far as like commercializing a lot of this stuff, and that if they could really make that sustainable, it's a game changer. And kind of back to my point about sustainability, one of the main questions I asked when I drove around the Model X was like, well, what if I want to go on a long road trip? That's probably like the biggest question people have. It's like, I don't want to wait around, while this thing is just, waiting to charge or whatever else. And then she was the woman that rode around with me. She was telling me about like the supercharging stations and stuff, and how I was actually shocked about how many there are in the U.S. And so the supercharging stations, I think, what is it? And you can tell me, you own a Tesla, but like I think it's like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and it gets you like 80% charge or something like that. So like,
Exactly.
and it's like 350 miles to a charge, 350 to 400 miles to a charge. So it's like you go driving for 350 to 400 miles, somewhere around there. You find a charging station, and then you rest for about 45 minutes. It's really not a big deal. Get something to eat, whatever. You'll be doing that anyway, and then it's charged and you're ready to go. So
Yeah.
that's for me, and that's only going to get better. I mean, Elon Musk
Exactly.
in general, especially when it comes down to just like the solar technology and all the other stuff. I mean, just talking from a car manufacturing standpoint, like I don't know how they're not going to blow people away. And I think, didn't you say that I think you were telling me they sold more Model 3s than any other car manufacturer in the U.S. this year, right?
They were at least top three. I know luxury, last time I looked, I mean, it was like top three. So for January, I mean, they're crushing it. I mean, that includes like Toyota Camrys, that includes, like Honda Accords. Like, it's crazy.
That's
How much they're
unbelievable.
producing. And it's not a cheap car at this point. It's not the $35,000 model. It's the 60 plus $1,000, at maybe 50 in the 50s to 60 some $1,000 range. So the fact that they're selling that many compared to these other cars that are 20,000 is just crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It just well, and I think that that's also a testament not to just, because I see people like, I live in a rural area, and there's I see Model 3s everywhere, and so I think a lot of that has to do with like not just the car itself and the quality of the vehicle, but even the just their customer service. Don't they have like a ridiculous like warranty and all that good stuff too, as far as like from a longevity standpoint?
I don't know much about the warranty. Like, I can actually say honestly, like the customer service was actually kind of poor at the beginning. Like, I'll be honest, my customer experience at first
Hmm.
was kind of poor. I wasn't actually super happy with them. The only thing that kept me super stoked was the driving experience with it.
Yeah,
Um, but that's something I think in the last conference call, the last earnings report, Elon really focused on. He said they're really going to work on getting more repair vehicles and really focusing on customer service and that kind of thing. Yes, they laid off. I think they laid off 3,000 employees
yeah.
less than a month ago.
But they were like
But
executive level type employees, right?
it was a mixture. I went to the Tesla dealership in Salt Lake, and they had said, yeah, they had some staff cutbacks and stuff, but
Oh wow.
they had grown though by, I think it was like some crazy number. They had grown by like, I think they had gained something like 100% of their employees, and then they only lost in losing that 3,000 like 27% of the employees that they had gained. So I forget the exact figures. Don't quote me on this, But really, if you look at over the year over year number of employees they had gained versus how many they had just lost, they had just hired too many employees at that point. So
Right.
again, the news loves to bash Tesla. And I think the thing a lot of times you'll see is a lot of these TV networks are usually in association with a lot of these big oil conglomerates.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary. I mean, it's scary for them because that's a way of life, that's a revenue stream. And a lot of the big business, those oil and gas is a major industry
Oh yeah.
worldwide, right? Energy sector is huge, so expensive. And I think it's scary that you have this electric car manufacturer coming in that can literally end up changing the game for a lot of these oligarchs and just the
And they
big
already
boys
are.
in the oil. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But
So
see, that's on them. Like for me, like that's on them. Like I think these major oil companies and stuff, they should have been able to see this way far into the future. I mean, like it's not that hard to imagine a life without oil because it's going to happen. I mean, there's a limited supply. One day we're going to run out. And so, instead of like trying to fight it so much,
why not invest
evolving
in it?
well, yeah, and evolve in it, and get in on that because it was just like when the oil rush happened. It was like everybody wanted to get in on that because they knew how big of an industry it was going to be. And Elon's over here saying, "Hey, thanks oil, for the years, but now we have to move over to this, and this is going to be the next big thing." And it's like you would think that more people would be on board with that just because there is going to come a time where we're just going to run out, and really the big oil companies have no answer for that. I mean, are they just going to shut their doors one day and say, "Sorry guys, we're out of oil. Now you have no job." So then what do? You're talking about billions of dollars and millions of people that are in this industry that are basically left out in the cold because they have nowhere to go because they didn't come up with any kind of solution. Whereas like now it's going to be like people like Elon, and I can't imagine that Tesla is going to be the only electric car manufacturer out there or exclusively electric car manufacturing. But that industry is going to explode eventually. The closer we get to running out of oil, I think the more that's really just going to be huge. And if you're a billionaire and you spent your life being an entrepreneur and really owning business, and I get the fact that this has been your life, just oil and refining and drilling. Anybody who's been in it, like this has been your life. But I think the reality is like you just have to understand that things change, and it's not going to be there forever. And people hate change anyway. But like, I mean, the smart people will see the future and see what's actually transpiring, and that's why I think you should be bullish on things such as Tesla because they are so forward thinking. And I saw your your comment, Tara, about how they may be the modern day Tucker, which I don't know if you have you ever heard of the Tucker movie. Tucker, the Tucker car manufacturer.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember the name of the car. Daggone it. But anyway, Tucker was like, if you guys don't know, another innovative car company back in the 50s.
You could talk about DeLorean, right? DeLorean.
Yeah, but like Tucker was a huge one because the big three really knocked that out because they refused to see value in things such as seatbelts, crumple zones, direct injection, all that, or just fuel injection in general. Back then they didn't even have fuel injection, so like all those forward-thinking things, and then they shut them down, and then basically, obviously seatbelts are a way of life when you're driving now and stuff like that. So it's like, why are you fighting it so hard? Stick with the oil now, but start to come up with a plan that moves you in the direction of a oilless world, because that's what it's going to eventually get to. And it's like,
and I don't think we'll ever get to the point where we will be oilless. I mean, obviously, it is going to be a blend. I mean, I think there's fossil fuels are great for certain things. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get to that point, but it's just very, very closed-minded to think that there's not a place for it. I mean, and whether you believe in global warming or not, I mean, I don't know. I used to, kind of think it was a load of hogwash, but I mean, more and more, if you really are scientific and look at it from an objective point of view, I mean, even just from the point of view that, hey, if you're putting this much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere that wasn't there before, it's got to do something. I mean, 1+1 = 2. You can't somehow say it equals 0. You know?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not saying that like we're going to be oilless like tomorrow or within the next 10 years or anything like that. I think it's going to be a long process. But you kind of alluded to it yourself. It's like there's going to be a blend, but eventually, we're going to get to a point to where I think that the cars that are reliant on fuel are going to be things like hot rods, and that there's the only type of real cars you're going to see, or like supercars, stuff like that. But even the supercars, you'll see Ferrari and Porsche. Slim Dan, I saw you mention Porsche, and I think that the new 918 is a hybrid. It's and it's an insane hybrid race car, and they're all going that way. McLaren, not the P, is it the P1 now? But anyway, McLaren is the same way. They've incorporated electric power into their fuel-powered vehicles, and so I think that's the start of it. You get to this point to where things are running off of fuel, and I think that it's just going to evolve into just full electric. I think it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we see what's going on here, and we need to at least adjust to it. Yeah. But we also understand that there's this generation of people that still appreciate, and even the engineers. I mean, if you're an engineer, if you're an engineer for Porsche or a car manufacturer like that, you already love cars, and you already love the fact of the combustible engine and just the engineering behind all of that. Because when you whittle an electric car down, there's really not much to it, right? It's just a battery, a couple motors, and that's it. Whereas I can appreciate, obviously being a car guy, the engineering that's evolved around just building an engine between the pistons and the rings and rods and the crank, and how it all works together to just run and take you places forever, and so that is an engineering marvel in and of itself. But eventually, might not be in our lifetime, but I think that maybe even in our children's or our children's lifetime, there will be a world where there's no oil, and so it would only be smart to at least start thinking about it now to get it to a point to where you can actually transition to that, and it's not really that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Tesla is it's not just about oil, right? I mean, their thing is, and this is what I love about Elon and any good company, any company that sets out to solve a problem or a world issue, as opposed to just for financial gain, is usually the ones that end up being the most successful, right? And so Tesla's goal is obviously to help the world's energy crisis or energy issues, especially in the coming decades and centuries. But the other thing too is that they are obviously really bullish on like autonomous driving. I mean, that's something that no other auto manufacturer had really talked about or focused on. Google has their own projects and things like that, but these are software companies. These aren't auto manufacturers. These aren't automakers. And so I think that's just another reason why I like Tesla, on top of the fact that the CEO obviously he's a proven, just very, very driven individual. I mean, you hear these reports that he will literally be in the factory all week long, sleeping on the floor. This is a billionaire we're talking about. This isn't like someone hungry that's needing a paycheck. No, this is a multi-billionaire that sunk all of his funds from his previous companies into this one, and he's still hungry enough that he'll sleep on the floor and is working tirelessly. And yeah, he's made some mistakes because of it, but I mean, when someone is that driven and that smart together, those are two very powerful tools that I don't think anyone can really appreciate unless you yourself have maybe started a business and realize how hard it is. I mean, I'm sure parents out there realize, if you're a parent and work full time and are trying to take care of kids, like I'm sure that's a difficult job, but like Elon is a workhorse. He's not just like, oh, I'm a brainiac and I'm going to sit back and drink my cognac,
Right. A workhorse isn't even the word for, or the term for it, really. I mean, the guy's just a straight up machine. Like when you start a business, and I can speak from experience, it literally is a 24/7 job, and ultimately it doesn't matter how big your business is. If you're just starting out, if you want to build a little cookie shop, or you want to build, which by the way, I'm going to be having collaboration soon on that. That'll be fun. I actually had somebody reach out to me. They started a cookie shop, and just real quick, so just if you guys are watching, be on the lookout for this. They slept in their car to get this cookie shop going. We're borrowing restaurants to make their cookies, and so it's an awesome story. So anyway, that just goes to what my point is that like it doesn't matter how big of a business it is, if it's small or if it's large, it takes a lot of sacrifice and it's a huge commitment, and it's not just how hard you work, but how smart you work, and you know, believing in what it is that you're doing. And so I don't think there's anybody that believes in what they're doing more than Elon does. And you know, he was, I don't know, had the, I guess, fortitude to like see that through, because there were so many people that were just hating on him for doing it what it is. I mean, he could have lived out his days right with PayPal and been completely fine, but because he was so passionate about what it is that he was doing, and just the life of an entrepreneur, that he understood. I mean, he's done it time and time again, where he understands what it takes to start a business, no matter how big. The only difference is the dollar amount. You know,
Yep.
the time and the commitment and the work ethic it takes, it's all the same. The only thing that's different is just the scale of it. And so it really does take a special type of person to, you know, run a successful business. And I mean, Elon does it better than anybody else. People like to talk about how smart he is or how intelligent he is and how forward thinking he is, but it's really the entrepreneurial mind that he has that's really kind of gotten him to where he's at today, I honestly think. And that's why I think Tesla's really going to be just fine, no matter what it is that, you know, we're seeing right now with, you know, the bonds and all of that.
And yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I think this is the points to be taken if you're looking at investing in Tesla. Is yes, to have some more financial obstacles to overcome. Sure, you know, there's the Shanghai factory that they just are starting to get built. There's a lot of there's still a lot of costs that Tesla is going to have to overcome in its journey to profitability. But if you'll look from this year to last year and how many shares were short in Tesla, Tesla was like one of the largest companies that had like 30% of its shares short at any given point. And a lot of those large bears that were very bearish on Tesla, big, massive hedge funds that were multi-million-dollar positions short on Tesla, they have since come out and said, you know, we're no longer short on Tesla. They may not be long on Tesla, but they are no longer as bearish. And that's because they're getting through some of those like massive, becoming profitable this last year was huge for Tesla. And so that's why, I mean, yeah, you might be able to make some money here on some quick scalps, trying to day trade, shorting Tesla, but it's very, very narrow-minded to go, oh yeah, long term, I don't see Tesla being able to survive. There's so many companies that if Tesla really was in a dire strait, they would inject capital into Tesla because, like you said, their charging network infrastructure that they have, the fact that they are the first auto manufacturer outside of China to build this massive gigafactory there. Tesla's working on building lithium-ion batteries that most other auto manufacturers will most likely be putting into their cars. So literally 10 years from now, when you go to buy an electric car, let's say it's a BMW or a whatever brand it is, most likely, more often than not, that's probably going to be a Tesla battery. So not only does Tesla make money off Tesla cars, I mean, we could go into a million different things, but yeah, I think overall the thing to take away from it is just like you're running a Russian roulette trying to short Tesla for the long term, I think, personally.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why Ford got so big, and that's not why they're still with us today. I mean, one of the largest car manufacturers today, but like and Elon's kind of taking a page out of that book with like all their raw materials to build their cars are all just coming from in-house. And so that's what Ford did back in the day. They had all their steel. I mean, they had control over the steel companies and obtaining all of those raw materials just to make car frames and all of that good stuff. And so Tesla's doing that same thing. They're mimicking that model. And so when all of the big oil, starts to finally realize, hey, we should start shifting, it's going to be too late because Elon's already going to have it all.
Exactly. No, 100% agree with you. So, and it's definitely not the easy route. I mean, obviously to outsource and that kind of thing is, I think, the easier route, but he sees the long term in this. Elon has always said, like, this is a long journey. You know, he says if you're just in it to scout Tesla right now, like don't trade, like don't even buy my stock, which is kind of crazy for a CEO to say that. But I mean, he really is, he's long in that. And I think all of his moves that he's done so far to date are for the greater good of the auto manufacturer. It's not all perfect, but no company ever has done anything in a perfect fashion, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Somebody are making some pretty funny comments. I was just reading through them. Somebody literally said, I got to read it. It says, I can't wait till they approve space travel to Mars because I'll get a one-way ticket for my wife. Oh, that's so funny. All right, so we can go ahead and cut it there. And I didn't want to get this too long. But if anybody has any last-minute questions, feel free to ask away. If you have any questions about Cameron's course, and he does provide like a free mentorship after the course. And he also has a YouTube channel, which again, I'll make sure they are on the description of this video once it's uploaded. But anything else? How is it going, by the way? I know that you've made a couple of sales on your courses. Have you had anybody give you feedback on them, and how's that been?
Yeah, I think what people like about the course is just that obviously I think a lot of the stuff in the course is to teach you how to be a conservative, obviously, investor. I focus on different styles of trading, right? I've always said I'm not your conventional investor that has one niche that I focus on. It just is dependent on my timing, right? Like when I'm out here selling and doing my day job, I can't be shorting in the morning. I don't have the time to do it. So I mean, my course obviously is very good for learning the longs and the logistics of, swing trading and things like that. I've had at least 3, if not 4 people that have like tripled their investment in terms of they paid for the course. And in the first week, they made over $1,000 just by kind of using the skills and stuff from the course, as well as seeing some of the trades that I put in that little, basically what I've put is I say, hey, you can follow me for a month in my little membership group. There's no guarantees that I'm going to keep doing this because it is free right now.
Right.
But you can follow my trades. I want you to make the money back that you invested in my course. And so
that's awesome.
Watch those videos, or not watch the videos, watch my trades. I'm going to give you commentary on when I want to get in, when I'm going to get out. If you want to follow me, do it at your own accord, but at least you know how I'm doing it. And so it's worked out really well. I've loved, that's the whole goal, and what makes you obviously super happy as a mentor is watching people make money off of those. And so it's been going good. Obviously, I want to continue to grow that. Honestly, just keeping consistent with mentoring and that kind of thing is crucial, I think, to continue to grow it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about building that relationship, right? It's not just here's a course and now you're on your own. Nice thing about all of our mentors within We Trade HQ is that you invest in us, and we will literally invest that back into you as far as time is concerned and all of that good stuff. So a couple of questions. Can we trade with you in Discord chat? Actually, Rabbit, he does have a Discord channel within our We Trade HQ, so feel free to shout him out, ask him any kind of questions you might have. Trying to get him a little bit more involved within Discord.
Sure. And that's a free group too. So
the absolutely.
Investments one on there. You don't have to have bought my course or anything like that. Feel free to message me in there, and I'll get back to you, as soon as possible.
Yep, lots of stuff that we offer for free. Again, the links for the Discord and all of the free We Trade HQ stuff is in the description below. One other question that's not related to Tesla, but that's okay, no problem. Looking at JC Penny stock right now, looks like it will one day become a penny stock. Oh, okay, yeah, probably so. Amazon killing all of those types of retailers, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Cameron, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today, and thank you guys for showing up and supporting this channel. If you like this is something that you wanted to see more of, and obviously we'll talk about different other companies, but I wanted to bring a different flavor to my channel, not just talking about penny stocks all the time. It's kind of been a Wednesday night thing here, really since the first of the year, where we just kind of talk about different stuff, and you guys seem to be pretty receptive to it. But if you did like it, Give me a thumbs up. I certainly would appreciate it. And subscribe to get more content such as this. Cameron, thank you very much. And that is all for me, guys. As always, I will see you all before the bell. And B. Smith is out. Take it easy, guys.